Hello everybody, welcome back to Comedian MTG. This week we are doing another gameplay review. So once again for this series, for those who have never seen these before or who may just want a reminder, either way, the way this series works is that I'm going to watch an episode from a featured cEDH content gameplay creator. So for example, today we're watching a game from Play to Win, which is their Who's the Best Commander from Crimson Vow in cEDH YouTube video. And I'm going to go through this video and take the perspective of using this as a case study. So we're going to be looking at this video, we're going to be watching the game, watching the plays that happen within this video, and we're going to be breaking down all the plays, breaking down decision points in the game. Now to be clear, this once again is a case study. This is not meant to be any sort of criticism of the gameplay. It is not meant to be a criticism of the players. It is just used so that you in the audience at home can watch this gameplay, hear from an experienced cEDH player like myself, someone who grinds tournaments. For those who don't know my sort of expertise, I tend to play a lot of cEDH tournaments. I've been playing the format for quite some time now, and I am an active tournament grinder, playing basically every tournament there is, and have a couple wins and top fours under my belt to show for my experience. So given all of that, we're using this game as a case study and watching some interesting and fun gameplay because the Play to Win guys are awesome and it's really cool to watch their stuff. And we're going to break it down and hopefully you guys can take something away that'll help you improve as a player. So once again, today we're watching Who's the Best Commander from Crimson Vow in cEDH. We have Grolnok, Old Rustine, Anya, and Toxrill. Probably, I would say, like 3 out of the 4 most interesting commanders that have come out of Crimson Vow. I think Old Rustine's kind of a bit of a gimmicky commander that's just kind of like fit in here, and I was a little disappointed that it didn't play Iruth, which is the Izzet Storm commander. I think that would have made for a much more interesting deck to have at the table, as it's probably one of my favorite decks to come out of Crimson Vow and one of the most interesting commanders. There's a deck tech video if you want to check out my perspective on that commander. All right, let's go check this gameplay out. So if you may notice, I'm not watching this gameplay on full screen, and that's because with the way my body is, I don't want it to block corners of the game, which I've done before with full screen, and it usually ends up just like removing important pieces of the game, maybe covering someone's life total. So I'm trying to be over here as least intrusive as possible, and that's why the game's not going to be on full screen. So just so you know.
Welcome to Play to Win.
I love their intro.
I'm Dylan.
And I'm Cameron. This week we're here to figure out which one of the new commanders from Crimson Vow.
I do not know why he says it like that.
So first up, we have Tyler on the Gitrog Milster, aka Grolnok. Nate is on Old Chain and Old Rusty.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, this is kind of the commander deck that I think is kind of the gimmick from this episode. I don't really think it has legs in cEDH because it does a lot of stuff that other decks do, just like a lot worse.
Yeah, Cameron's on Dishonorable Anya, World Gorger combo, and I'm playing Scepter Consult Toxrill.
I do love that Cormus Bell is one of the highlighted cards here. It's very funny because if you get an Urborg and a Cormus Bell, suddenly Toxrill's nuking all of your opponent's lands. It's a bit gimmicky, but it's pretty funny. And when you have black tutors, you can tutor these kind of weird permanents like lands and artifacts. That's pretty cool. And especially, obviously, you're playing a blue Scepter deck, right? So you're going to have a lot of ways to tutor artifacts, but more specifically, the lands are a little harder to get if you're not in black or green.
Scepter Consult Toxrill.
Draw for turn. Ancient Tomb.
I feel like they used to show opening hands, and I don't know what happened to that. That's interesting. I'm surprised that we didn't get hands for this episode.
Lose 2 life to cast an Arcane Signet. I will say go.
Solid start. So like already right away, the Grolnok deck, like the being able to have a turn 2 Grolnok, which is what a double mana land into an Arcane Signet is indicating. Like if Tyler plays anything that makes green or blue, Grolnok coming down turn 2 is very, very strong. So that's a great start for that deck.
Cast Chromox, imprinting Elvish Mystic, cast Talisman of Resilience.
Speaking of decent
I'll
starts.
get a draw, crack a Bloodstained Mire, Badlands, Mana Crypt, Dark Confidant, and then pass.
Another thing to point out that now that we're talking about the Old Rustine, the food chain part of that deck, the fact that you can't even have more than one exile enabler because all you have access to is Eternal Scourge. Like you don't get Squee, you don't get Mist Hologriffin, and like that's just, to me, that would scream like there's a lot of problems with the way that list is going to work. Anyways, turn 1 Dark Confidant, obviously fantastic turn 1 play. It's like one of the best turn 1 plays, especially when you're playing a low color Rakdos list. Like it's just so good.
Draw a card. Scalding Tarn. Crack it. Underground Sea. Cast Mox Diamond. Discarding Cephalid Coliseum. Cast Mana Vault. I'm also going to cast a Mox Opal.
Just like
That's all I got.
Absolutely insane. So this is one of the benefits of having a commander like Toxrill in the command zone, is that sometimes if you just get like mana flooded with your opening hand, you can just get like a Toxrill out super early in the game and then just start dominating the game with your commander that just suddenly nukes the board over and over again.
Untap. Draw. Seed of the Synod. Losing 2 life from Ancient 2. Cast the Frog. Rivet.
Interested to see Seed of the Synod here. It's not always a popular choice to be playing those types of cards. So clearly Mox Opal and or other Metalcraft enablers are like important to this version of the list.
Ribbit.
Pass the turn.
Untap. Upkeep. I will draw. Cast. My commander. Old Rustin. I will mill a card. Get a blood.
Blood.
Pass the turn.
I'll get a Mana Crypt trigger. Odds I take damage. Of course, it's a 5. And we're going to reveal a Chrome Mox to the Dark
Hey, always
Confidant.
great to flip a 0.
Card. Cast the Chrome Mox and put a Blood Pet under it. Great Furnace. Faithless Looting. Draw.
That's another deck playing these Mirrodin lands. Very interesting. A lot of these low color black and red decks I've noticed, or it's red decks specifically, I just feel like they're all playing Faithless Looting nowadays. And Faithless Looting is pretty interesting because in this list specifically, because you're on World Gorger Dragon as your main win con, totally defensible. I guess my point is tangent jumping off of that. I feel like I've seen like a lot of Jund lists that are not on World Gorger playing Faithless Looting. It's like, what are you doing? But in this list, obviously, once again, makes a ton of sense. You're on World Gorger.
2. Discard Urborg and a Mountain. Cast my commander. Anya. Blood. Pass.
Go to my turn. Untap.
Blood tokens are great and limited. I think they kind of suck for just regular commander play. I think they're so slow. They're the rummage effects. Now, when you once again are playing World Gorger Dragon, it's pretty decent, but like they're not something you can really rely on. They end up being really mana intensive for very little payoff.
Draw a card. Forbidden Orchard. Give Tyler a 1/1. Make a black. Cast Cabal Ritual. Make 3 black.
Here we
Cast.
go.
I'm gonna go to my end step.
Absolutely wild. If you notice, and I think Dylan's about to point this out because I've seen this video before, the way Toxrill was cast, there is a blue mana open, indicating that he's holding up some sort of counter magic.
Trigger Toxrill.
Yeah, they all get Negwin.
Slime.
Dark Confidant dies.
And this also dies. So I will get 2 slugs. Pass.
Just absolutely insane. Those are some big ass tokens. Like, okay.
All right, so a couple things. Number 1, my favorite thing about cEDH is that everyone can play your commander on turn 2. It doesn't matter who it is, everyone's playing their commander on turn 2. Also, Forbidden Orchard in Toxrill is like secretly, weirdly, funly good. Every spirit that you
Yeah.
give, eventually I'm just going to kill and get it back into a slug. I really like that.
Yeah, we didn't talk about that during the
It's like a really interesting just like benefit of the card. It's obviously not something to like go crazy and build around, but like the fact that your commander does pay you off for a card that should be in almost every deck. I'm going to say almost very lightly there. Forbidden Orchard's insane. The downside's very minimal a lot of the time. Sometimes it comes back to bite you, but not really.
It's a really nice combo.
It's
right
very
there.
small, but it's just you get to basically your Forbidden Orchard.
Yeah,
gets
as
to
Dylan
make
said, very
you
small.
slug. And the Cabal Ritual. I know I don't need to cast the Cabal Ritual here, but I'm hoping
Here's what
for
I was
counter
talking about.
magic if you
Yep.
couldn't have guessed why I did that.
We all guessed.
We all knew that,
knew.
right? You all understood why I did that.
stared at that island and I made sure the table fucking knew you had something.
Untap. Draw for turn. Move to combat. Nate, I'm going to come at you with a 2/2 frog. On attack, I will mill 3 things. Swan Song would have been really nice a while ago.
So this is interesting. I haven't looked at Tyler's version of Grolnok. There's a certain level of how much permanence versus how many instants of sorcerers do you play in this list. And these are some like pretty like standard cards, right? Like you're probably, no matter what version you're playing, you're going to want to be on Worldly Tutor, you're going to want to be on Swan Song. But it's just interesting to see here how these cards, unfortunately, the downside of playing Grolnok is that only permanent cards are the things that you can play again, right? So despite the fact that Grolnok is a card advantage engine, it does have that downside of being exclusively permanents, right? You can't cast that Swan Song, you can't cast that Worldly Tutor as soon as they hit the graveyard, unless you get something like a Snapcaster Mage, something to bring it back to your hand, etc.
Wow, that sucks.
A lot of them would have been really nice.
This goes to exile. Cast this Chrome Mox. Imprint Exploration. City of Traders.
Now, imprinting Exploration may seem super trivial here. However, one of the main ways to win in Grolnok is when you have all of your library in exile and or your graveyard, you play Exploration to play another land for turn, which allows you to play Cavern of Souls and play Thassa's Oracle as an uncounterable second land. So now, if you're Tyler, you have to be thinking, when I mill my entire library, I can't play my land for turn if I want to be able to play that Cavern and make sure Thassa's Oracle is not able to be countered.
Leave one floating. Cast an Oko Thief of Crowns.
Ugh,
Thinking.
so
I'm just
good.
trying to think if I should-
Speaking of permanents that gain you a ton of value, right? Oko is insane in this deck. So you come down, you nuke, and especially in a commander game where like these commanders are big, they're important, they have very strong abilities. Toxrill exists on this table, right? So you have that, and now Oko comes down, shuts that all down. Plus, it's a removal spell that you can get back from your graveyard and use repeatedly. Very strong.
I can kill myself over this.
Please kill yourself over this. I don't know, I'm just gonna make a food token. I don't know what you're worried about.
Cast Demonic Consultation.
Oh.
I'll name Force
Like-
of Will.
Yikes. Just major yikes.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Good job.
Nothing too relevant. Now let's not try not to exit my whole library. That's Oracle is gone.
Oof.
There it is.
All right.
I'll cast Force of Will, pitching Flusterstorm, losing a life.
I have no response to that.
It sucks to lose a
Losing
giant
two
part of your
life, especially
library
Grim
just to
Monolith.
be able to
And then
counter
turn.
one thing.
Instep, Toxrill, more slime.
Untap, upkeep, I will draw. Exotic Orchard. I'll pass turn.
Instep, Toxrill.
Fuck dice.
I get another slug.
My turn. Odds I take damage. Taking more damage.
Curious also. So Thassa's Oracle being gone is really interesting because if you're noticing here, there's no Laboratory Maniac, there's no Jace Wielder of Mysteries. Okay, so he's playing Copy Artifact, so he is able to double Scepter. So he could not draw his whole deck, or he could just play his Necropotent. So okay, so losing Thassa's Oracle here isn't the biggest deal in the entire world because he also has the Isochron lines. I don't know if he lost any pieces of that. He didn't say in the video, but something to note if you're going deep on a console, you know, what can you do? What's my pivot plan? What can I do to try and win this game still?
Draw for my turn. Make 2 colorless and use 1 for a mana vault. Jessica's Will. Both.
Yep, pretty good.
Nate for the mana because he's the only one with more than 3 cards in hand. 4 red and 2 colorless, and then I get to exile Diabolic Intent, Lotus Petal,
Pretty
and
good.
a land. Cast the Petal. Cast an Underworld Breach.
Oh, baby.
It seems good, right? It seems good. Crack the Lotus.
Okay, back to the deck lists. Okay, I don't know what he gets here. But if it's not Grinding Station, I'm very confused. That's what I'll say for that.
Petal for a black mana, and then cast an Entomb. I entombed World Gorger Dragon. World Gorger Dragon, exile 3 lands from your graveyard.
Okay.
Dark Confidant from the graveyard. I was really in between casting the Dark Confidant from my graveyard or going for another Jessica's Will for more mana and more cards. But the Diabolic Intent, which needs to go get me the Reanimator piece that I need, has to sacrifice a creature, and it can't be Anya, because I need Anya in play to win.
Okay, so he went through so many hoops here. What I was mentioning about the Diabolic Intent is that when you have that Diabolic Intent, what you can do is you can cast the Diabolic Intent, sacrificing your Anya. You go grab Grinding Station. Now you have a 0 mana artifact in your graveyard and Grinding Station. You can then get to the point where, oh, he even has Mana Vault on the battlefield. So now you're suddenly generating colorless mana every time you're going through that loop. He has a bunch of extra cards in his graveyard, so he can start filtering what the cards are that enter his graveyard and what the cards are that he exiles. Until he gets Animate Dead and World Gorger in his graveyard. So he can start filtering his graveyard until he has that point and just go for it from there. So by the way he did it, he took like a bunch of extra steps, got rid of a bunch of extra cards in his graveyard just to go for the traditional way. But one of the whole reasons you're playing Grinding Station in this list is to be able to get the Grinding Station loop going and then get your World Gorger, get your Animate Dead, and just be able to go off from there with a graveyard that should have at least a piece of protection or something like that. So I don't remember if he ends up winning from this position, but it was a lot of steps and opened up a lot more opportunities to kind of get cucked here.
I can still play this land for turn. Play it for black, cast the Diabolic Intent, sacrificing the Dark Confidant, cast Animate Dead. I'm going to target the World Gorger Dragon. World Gorger triggers on the stack. I'm about to blink everything.
Slaughter Pack.
I'm very blown out. So then World Gorger will die, and then all my stuff is exiled. That's why I hate World Gorger Dragon. All right, well.
So you have an end.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so the way that works perfectly is with the World Gorger Dragon enter the battlefield trigger on the stack. Because they are 2 separate clauses, you remove it. Then what happens is the World Gorger leaves the battlefield, but because it's a separate clause, it says, hey, all the cards that I have in exile, which is nothing at that point because the ETB hasn't happened, get returned. Then the only thing left on the stack is the enter the battlefield trigger, which exiles everything, but there's no way to bring it back because World Gorger's already gone. That's why Cam has no board at this point in the game. It's a super bad way to get hit by that thing. So this is kind of one of the things I was mentioning with the grinding station loop. There are ways to get around this possibility, especially if you go for a dockside loop first and then go for this animate World Gorger line secondary. So probably gets blown out here by not going for that grinding station right away.
Step still. Slime counter on your thing, which will kill it. Oh, I will get another slug.
And just the slug is running away with the game because, you know, you let a value engine like this go uninhibited and it's going to do that.
Mana Vault. Lose a life off of it. Draw card. Let's go to combat. I think I'm going to send all of it at Nate. Forbidden Orchard, I'll give...
The going after Nate here was very interesting to me. I guess it makes sense given the fact that Tyler needs creatures, and specifically one that only has one toughness, being Hermit Druid, to make it happen here. But I feel like Tyler has way more resources. Nate really hasn't done anything. His deck is definitely clunkier and harder to get going. So I'm kind of surprised to see Nate be the target here. And I get that he's playing black, but I don't know that it really matters in this board state in particular.
Tyler at 1/1, sacrifice a slug to draw card. I'll play Gemstone Caverns as my land for turn, pass turn, end step, kill that thing, make a slug.
Untap. Turn. I'm just gonna pass the
God,
turn.
Toxrel's so good.
End of turn, sack the blood, discarding Grim Monolith. Untap, pay for my pack, draw for turn, land for turn.
Yeah, on top of that, right, I forgot to say earlier, Nate's already paying for a slaughter pact, so like it's just really hard to see him as the person to be hitting right now.
Command tower, pass the turn.
Draw for turn? Ooh. All right, I'll cast Jeweled Lotus. Pass the turn.
End step, I'll sacrifice.
I love Cam's energy. He's completely out of this game at the current moment, just completely like, hey, Jewel Lotus, nice.
The slug to draw a card. Mana Vault, I'll lose life, draw a card. Go to combat, 7 at Nate and 3 at Tyler.
I don't know why you ever split damage. I think when you make a point of hitting one person, it's very important that you do that so that you're putting that pressure on that life total. Like, if you want to pivot to Tyler, pivot to Tyler. I think by splitting the damage here, the only thing you're doing is putting both players in a medium position as opposed to threatening a player that you think is the threat at the table.
Sacrifice one of these slugs to draw a card.
I'm gonna respond.
Okay.
I'm gonna cast Snapcaster Mage. We're gonna target Worldly Tutor. I'm gonna cast Worldly Tutor.
I'll cast Wash Away.
Sure.
Counter target spell. Oh, okay. So Wash Away is a new card from Crimson Vow. I had to look at it for a sec because people have still been debating whether this card's actually going to see play. Obviously good in this particular instance. There are times where I don't think it's good enough. There are times where, times like these, where obviously it pays off right away. But like, who's playing Snapcaster apart from select low color decks anyways? It's hard to judge specifically, but...
I will draw a card. Pass turn.
End step.
Nice.
Untap. Draw. P3 and cast Solve the Equation. I'm gonna find Finale of Devastation. Cast Finale of Devastation for X equals 2.
That is such a pain in the ass.
It's not Hermit.
Gilded Drake.
It's Gilded Drake. 1000% it's Gilded Drake. I'll
Yeah.
give you a...
So I think Dylan's going to talk about this in a second. But one of the reasons that this deck works in the first place is that Toxrill, or the Scepter outlet portion of the deck, is that Toxrill is a slug itself and can be sacrificed to itself. So what you're going to see here is a bit of a punt on Dylan's part, and I think he calls himself out on it.
1/1 with the Forbidden Orchard, cast Dramatic Reversal. Untap Mana Vault, Mox Opal, and Mox Diamond. Use Mox Opal and Mox Diamond to sacrifice a slug and draw 1 card. Nope. This really sucked, and I was very hesitant about doing this play here. I really want to try to stop this Finale of Devastation at all costs because I know Gilded Drake is coming from it. But I actually have Shred Memory in my hand, which tutors for Isochron Scepter.
Look at the puppy. So cute.
And I have the Dramatic Reversal in my hand.
Yeah, I don't know why he went for the dramatic reversal. That was a little strange to me.
So technically, I could set that combo up for next turn, but if my commander is Gilded Drake, then I can't actually do anything with that mana.
Your creature should be untapped here, too.
Oh, yeah.
So you had blockers up for days.
Son of a gun.
If I was afraid of the Gilded Drake, I should have just waited until the trigger was on the stack and then sacked my Toxrill to itself to draw a card.
Yeah, there we go.
Go for it.
I will get a Gilded Drake. Gilded Drake's ETB is going to target Toxrill for sure.
Yep.
Now, this changes the whole pace of the game. I was just playing a game earlier today where I hit the wrong part of the World Gorger combo, and it's one of those things where, like, one play can shape the entire course of a game, and not sacking Toxrill here is the difference between winning and losing, basically.
I got nothing about that.
I will move to unstep.
Yep.
Your 2 slugs become my 2 slugs, basically. Dope. Nate, you're up.
Untap.
Like trading
I will
slugs.
draw. I'm gonna play my land for turn as City of Brass, Necropones. I'm gonna go 8. Go to end step,
Slime counter.
Go to my hand.
Would you exile?
I like going to 8 here a little bit, but you're playing a food chain deck. And when you're playing a food chain deck, and I get that the life total is definitely under pressure, there's a certain pressure to find the Eternal Scourge so that you can set up your food chain combo. Now, if you're doing the math of the creatures on the table, yeah, Toxrill is probably going to hit for about 10. So it's tough. It's tough. You want to go down a little deeper probably, but you also just don't want to die on your turn. And having 2 pain lands as part of the mana base right now doesn't help either.
Arbor Elf, Cabal Pit,
1 pain land, 1 talisman, I should say.
Soul Ring.
My turn. Draw for turn. Great. Pass the turn.
Get a counter on this, and it dies.
Cam's got that positive energy, man.
Oh yeah.
Untap, draw card.
Love that Toxrill kills the Gilded Drake to take Toxrill.
I'm gonna cast Phantasmal Image.
Hilarious and awkward.
We're just gonna see. We're just gonna see what happens.
I'll have Phantasmal Image enter as a copy of Toxrill. I'll play a Clearwater Pathway as my land for turn.
And it's so sad because
So I
had
have a
the
trigger
Gilded Drake still
that
been
will go on the
around,
stack
this would be
for
much
Toxrill,
better.
And you have a trigger that will go on the stack for Toxrill. So first, yours will resolve.
Yep, your guy gets a slime counter.
Mine has 1 slime counter and is smaller. Then mine resolves.
Slime counter.
4 things die, which means I get 4 slugs. Okay, go ahead and pass.
This is so silly. Like, this is such a silly situation.
Active player, non-active player order. That's what.
Dude, I can't. That dog is so cute.
Right. That's what's going on here. We're pretty sure this is how it works.
We think.
Untap. Draw.
That is how that works, by the way. Good job.
Gem step.
Yours goes on the stack first, then mine goes on the stack.
Yours resolves. I get a slime counter.
I get a slime counter, my things die, and you get slugs for each one of my things that dies.
Which, by the way, this slug exchange program that's going on right now is even more reason for Nate to have. I mean, obviously he didn't know this was going to happen, right? But now his life total is under even less pressure, and that being the case, like exiling a food chain enabler there would be pretty cool.
Okay.
Nate?
Oh, I never attacked Nate. That's a shame.
God damn it, Tyler. We just
Tyler also messing up didn't hurt either.
did this last fucking week, right? We just went through this.
Untap. Skip my draw. Land for turn. Allosaurus Shepherd.
It's great when you have a local play group that you're on that level with. You're like, guys, shape the fuck up.
Stack. Bloodstone. Boreal Druid. To cast Cabal Ritual.
I'll cast a spell on the Cabal.
Okay.
Speaking of things we just went through,
Tyler may be repeating the same mistakes over and over again, but I will not be not dispelling the Cabal Ritual every time here going forward.
Interesting methodology. It depends on what you're afraid of, I think, is the problem here, right? It's like, what actually is the thing that's going to pay off? Now, it's a Nas here would be pretty terrible, so this thinking's probably correct.
I already messed that up in a video
I don't know why he plays the Boreal Druid here. That's something very interesting to me. I think it might be a food chain thing.
prior.
I'm dead.
Just the epiphany. Just, oops, I'm dead.
I'm gonna.
I think if he plays Old Rostain here, he isn't. Which is something that probably could have happened without the Boreal Druid.
Pay 3. 4. Cast Diabolic Intent. Sack Boreal Druid to Diabolic.
Okay, so now we see why Boreal Druid comes out.
I have to pay 1 more. Go to hand step.
Mine go on first, and then yours Toxrill counters go on the stack.
Yep.
You'll put one on mine, and then I'll put one on yours. And
I have no idea why he played Shepherd either. That's very strange to me. It must have been whatever payoff he had in hand.
yours will die, and I'll take them.
there's an additional one now.
But why sequence it that way? I guess is the real question. If Allosaurus Shepherd can't be countered anyways, right? So if you Cabal Ritual first, you play Allosaurus Shepherd, and your green spells are still uncounterable. So this is just setting yourself up to get kind of blown out here.
Because of
Allosaurus Shepherd also die.
Exile. Eternal Scourge. Go.
1 turn too late.
already. I get a draw. I really wish this was a Black Lotus. Pass the turn.
I think a lot of people do, Cam.
End step. Mine will go on first, then yours go. Yours will go, and mine will get smaller, and then you'd get them, and then mine would resolve.
Now, what we're reaching towards here, and the thing that's coming up, is the fact that eventually a Toxrill will die, and therefore the -1/-1 part of it will stop mattering because it's tied to Toxrill.
And I would get him back. Untap. Draw card.
When Allosaurus died, we should both have created a slug. So you should have this. Then they would start moving together again.
This was a
Super complicated board state.
very insane draw. I will cast Gilded Drake.
That is really funny. I'm going to try and mana drain your Gilded Drake.
It is mana drained. Nate, I'm going to attack you. I'll send them all.
That's fine. I die.
I'm going to give you a spirit with the Forbidden Orchard.
I think they had to kill Nate there. I think you have to, right? Like, you have a food chain enabler. You have pretty heavy-handed implication that the food chain's in hand.
Sacrifice a slug to draw card. I'll sacrifice another slug to draw.
This is very smart because you're getting rid of the slugs, which means that eventually when the slugs become Tyler's, because I think that's where it ends up landing, it's less draw for Tyler.
Draw card. Tap the Mana Vault for a Dimir Signet with 1 floating, and use that 1 floating with,
To sack a
2
slug?
to make a Dimir, and sack
Yeah.
a slug to draw.
Hilarious.
Now I'm tapped out for you to do whatever you want. So pass turn, and
Oh, there's a real feeling in cEDH where you're just like, man, I can't do anything right now, and I'm gonna pass this opponent, and you just gotta pray.
tip triggers. Mine will go first, yours will resolve first.
I get them, then yours resolves. Then you get these 3 plus 1 for the forbidden
I'm very curious why they chose to use these. I think they're tarot cards for tokens.
orchard. Untap. Draw. I have 2 mana floating from the mana drain. Pass the turn. End step.
Yours goes on first, then mine.
So that's great. You have that whole play of like cast the thing, hope I don't die here, and then just hearing your opponent say pass is like huge for Dylan here.
Goes on, so mine resolves first, then yours resolves. Mine gets smaller, and these get.
Go to my turn. All right. Play Graven Karen. Pass the turn.
End step, mine dies.
Now yours resolves. They get a slime counter, but there's nothing saying they get -1/-1 from that slime
Correct.
counter. I still have a Toxrill. It's a 7/7, so these all have a slime counter on them. This has 7.
Go to my turn. Untap. Lose 1 from the Mana Vault.
Yeah, Dylan's in a rough spot here, just because the way that works, which stinks, because like the first turn that happens, you think, oh, okay, well, Tyler's the first to get the counters, but the way this ends up adding up in total, now there's a 7/7 Toxrill and 5/1/1s, and no one's stopping it. I mean, to be fair, it's being kept in check, because beforehand, this was getting out of hand really quick.
Draw a card. I'll transmute Shred Memory. 2-drop, which is Resculpt. I will cast Resculpt on your Toxrill.
I will veil.
Okay, now I'm curious. Now, the Veil Summer, obviously, we know happens here, but I'm curious if there's something else that you get here that is better at 2 mana. Level Phantasmal. So we know Thoracle's gone. I guess, what's Dylan at life-wise? Dylan's at... Back it up a second. He's at 36. So, with that being said, Toxrill doesn't have to die now. And I feel like this happens a lot in games where people get so focused in on the board state, they kind of forget to like actually just go for the win. And if that's the case, I think there's a world where you get something. So it's a slight problem here, right? In the fact that you can't go get Yogg's Will and then put Dramatic Reversal back in your hand, because that's not how that works, right? But there's just like a lot of targets here. Like even if you're just going for a Limdual's Vault or a Tainted Pact or a Demonic Tutor, and then you can make a pivot plan. So if you go for those cards, you can get like a peer. So that next turn you just untap and peer, right? Because everyone's exhausted out of these resources, right? They're really low on resources. And Tyler can't really sack the slugs for mana because he's playing Simic. So being able to draw out of the situation is not something that's going to happen. So there's a world where just doing, Shred Memory into... Demonic Tutor into Peer into the Abyss probably just wins you this game and sets you up in a situation that's a lot stronger than where he's currently at, as opposed to kind of banking it all on one removal spell.
I'll give you a 1/1 Spirit with the Forbidden Orchard. In response to Veil, I will cast Tainted Pact.
If you remember, Thas
And he already has Tainted Pact, which is even crazier. Because if you have Tainted Pact, you should be going for an answer here, not fighting over this Resculpt.
Oracle has been exiled from my library. If you're
Right.
wondering why I just didn't shred memory for Thassa's Oracle when I had the Tainted Pact in hand, that's the reason.
Dude, what a good puppy. He's just sitting there. Look at him chilling.
Pass it on Tainted Pact.
Let's Tainted Pact. Let's get rid of the whole fucking... The Cormus Spell. A little spicy treat. Active negation. Alright, I'll stop.
Also, if you want this whole thing to work, if you want to fight over Toxrill, why not dig down to a Yawgmoth's Will, play the Yawgmoth's Will, and even if you play it as a fair Yawgmoth's Will, to go get your Gilded Drake back, right? Because then suddenly you have the Toxrill. You're not just killing a Toxrill and getting a Pactum negation for it, right?
Pact of Negation, exile these cards, and cast Pact of Negation on Veil of Summer.
Yeah, Pact resolves.
You get a blue 4/4. Pass my turn.
Draw for turn. It is not a cyclonic. Cast my commander for 6. Losing 2 life. Play Yavimaya Coast and City of Traders.
This music is epic.
Move to combat. I'm gonna attack you for 7, 8, 9, 10.
I'll
Done.
take 10.
And I will pass the turn.
And now he's sort of in this
Fire
like
of
inevitable
Industry, and we're gonna
situation.
cast a grinding station here.
Hey,
Pass
the card we talked about for so long.
Untap. 5 mana for my Pact of Negation. Lose a life for Mana Vault. Draw card. Prismatic Vista. Imperial Seal. I'll lose 2. And
I mean, yeah, it helps if you just draw another tutor
I'll
for
shuffle
sure.
And pass my turn.
Alright, untap.
I'm curious what he gets here.
For turn. Combat.
If it's
Attack
Pier or
you
Yawgwill
for
or whatever it
13,
is.
Including Frog, and I will get a Frog trigger. Mystic Study, Mana Vault, and Cavern of Souls go to Croak Zone.
I'm at 9.
Play
Croak
Cavern
Zone.
of Souls naming Wizard, cast this.
Yep,
Risk
okay. Smart
Study,
move.
Cast this Mana Vault as well. Then I will pass turn, though I think Cameron might not be passing on my end step.
No, I will for right now. I'll draw. For right now, I'm going to pay a life, and I'm going to...
I put Toxic Deluge on top.
Oh, okay. So he's referring to the fact that you can mill Dylan, who just Imperial Sealed here.
If you don't want to mill me.
Well, that means I don't want to cast this spell I was about to cast. Okay, well, pass the turn.
Lose 1 from Mana Vault. Draw a card. Cast Toxic Deluge. X is 4. Lose 4 life.
Are you paying an extra 1?
Yes.
Sure. Good with that.
Pass turn.
Draw for turn. Cast a Concordant.
So now the game becomes how quickly can Dylan get to 9 mana to do the Toxrill thing all over again.
Cast Golnock.
Also, Concordant Crossroads, terrifying in this deck because a hasty Hermit Druid means game over.
I'm going to pay 1
With
green,
Grolnock on the battlefield.
Cast a Flinthorn Elves.
Of course.
Get fucked by mana.
The
Alright,
rage.
Move to combat.
The
Then I'm going
rage.
to attack you for 4. Frog Trigger.
That's so funny.
Is he
Crookstone
just
getting
dead?
a Hermit
Oh, he's
Druid.
just dead here. Yeah, man. So instead of going for the win like 3 times there, he went to play for the long game, right? And that's something that unfortunately can come to bite you. There's definitely this concept of like going to play for the safe play, but I think him actually going to get rid of Toxrill was by far a super not safe play and ends up biting him pretty badly here.
Druid and a Thassa's Oracle. That is funny.
It's great. Yeah, I die. Miscast was in my hand.
I am going to play a Gaia's
And your
Chorus
protection?
next turn.
Oh
And
my
then,
god.
Cameron, I will pass to you.
Not even doing Hermit Druid?
Yeah, but I couldn't have cast the Thassa's Oracle. Hermit. Oh,
But you can get all your fast mana out of your deck.
all the fast mana. That's
No,
why it's
yeah,
in the
okay.
fucking deck.
Yeah.
I was just like, oh, I got the only cards I need. Guess I'll do it next turn.
No, you're right. You can do it right now.
Anyone else screaming at their screen right now?
I guess I was. I guess that was me.
Wow, that is so embarrassing.
I have Soul Ring. I drew Soul Ring for turn. Make a black.
Could you imagine if Cam just steals this game?
I'm going to feed the Swarm your commander and lose 4.
Very well.
I mean, that makes it cost quite a pretty penny at this point. Like,
Oh, very well.
Try to win on your next turn.
I don't know if I have enough mana to recast him.
yeah.
7.
I can't believe Cam's even in this. This is hilarious.
Life. Draw for turn. That's very silly.
All right, well, he didn't slam a land, so...
I sure didn't.
So you're saying there's a chance.
Lab man from hand. Losing 2 life. Cast a Mystic Remora. Pass the turn to you. I guess I could have swung with Lab Man, yeah. Whatever.
Yeah, I mean, when you're at this point, every damage helps, was what I was going to say before I saw the Necropotence. So even more so.
Buttons?
Mystic Remora trigger? Ristic Study
I'll
trigger?
pay for Ristic Study, but I can't pay for Mystic Remora.
Yeah.
Necropotence is good by me.
I have to pay 20 at least. We're going to do 21. Moving to ends.
I get his mentality here, and I also get how, in reference to our earlier conversation, if you know your opponent has a haste enabler, I'm pretty sure he just plays Grolnock and kills Cameron here. Like, I'm pretty sure he's just dead if he does that, because you have a haste enabler on the board, right? That's super huge.
Step.
Flash in an Endurance.
Okay.
All right, GG's anyways, right?
I'm going to target your graveyard.
I hope this is a really, really fucking good 7.
Yeah, because you're dead on board.
Yeah, and I didn't get
Super
either of those
duper
things
dead
that I
on board.
needed.
Yeah, 20 was so aggressive here, like way aggressive. And endurance out of nowhere, sure, but like at least give yourself 10 life as a cushion, so you have a turn to live.
So I am just dead here.
Yeah,
I will attempt to attack you.
because he only needed a single card or a single tutor to get there, because he's got World Gorger in the yard, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, that's rough.
6.
I should have just done 20. Why didn't I just do 20?
All that, and it came down to combat damage.
Oh my god, that dog is so cute. Stop.
It didn't come down to combat damage. I paid 20 life.
It came down to poor Necropotence managing from both you and Nate, because if you remember,
True.
Nate also necroed for a shit ton. We kind of egged him on necro for more, and he ended
Yeah.
up losing a combat damage. Same thing with you.
So it's interesting when games come down to things like this. I just watched a game recently where someone just like punted and there was one other player left, and like that's how the game ends. And it's okay, it happens sometimes, right? Like it's really hard. This is a very complicated format, and sometimes it checks in like that last play where Cameron just didn't look at the board state and kind of, I mean, super duper got extra punished by the fact that endurance was in Tyler's hand. But you really have to be vigilant about the fact that sometimes the board and your life total, life is a resource, but it can be the determining factor in how the game goes. So it's really tough. Cam got a pretty bad break there just by like not observing one single thing. And Tyler ends up winning through a value play. I still think Dylan had that game pretty aggressively. I think he would have easily won had he, on his turn, tainted pacted for something like Yawgmoth's Will. even just stole Toxrill back, or, you know, a number of other things. I think he ended up just sort of focusing on the fact that he wanted to get Toxrill off the battlefield and basically ended up losing because of it, unfortunately. But it was an interesting game. There was a lot of, you know, subtle choices here or there that really shifted the entirety of the game. Obviously, the not sacking Toxrill to the its own ability was a huge play there. So unfortunately, the turn 2 Toxrill sort of made it that it was Dylan's game to lose, and unfortunately he kind of did, and Tyler took it there. But it was still a really fun game. I really like these commanders. I feel like if you watch the decks that had an impact on the game, Cameron went for a win. Tyler used his commander to grind out tons and tons of resources. Dylan was dominating the game from very early on, and obviously he was playing Demir, playing a lot of really high value cards. Kind of goes back to what I was saying at the beginning, where you can see that these 3 decks that are not Ulbrastine really do have that place, and like these are cEDH commanders that have a very viable chance of like just being good in the format. And you can kind of see how Rustine is like just so clunky in little ways, and just to the point where I just don't think it actually makes the cut. And I would have liked to see something like a Ruth. Obviously that's favoritism because I really like that card, but you can definitely see that. And if you watch enough of their videos where they cover just commanders from that set, you'll see that there are definitely decks these are the decks that are going to make the cut and actually become competitive decks, and these are the decks that are there because they wanted to fill out a pot of 4, basically. So it was really fun game to watch. I always enjoy watching these because it's a really early glimpse at the new stuff in the format. They're usually really good about checking, like, who's playing what, who's doing the new innovations. In the decks for Midnight Hunt, they actually used one of my lists for Lier as their list to test that deck out, which was pretty cool. Kind of came to the same conclusion I did, which is it's a good mono blue commander, but it probably isn't the best thing you can be doing when Urza exists in the format. But yeah, this was a really fun game. They're a really fun channel to watch. I think everybody should watch Play to Win, but if you're watching my stuff and you're not watching Play to Win, I don't know what sort of strange demographic we cover here. Big shout out to them because they're a fantastic channel, and I've gotten the pleasure to work with them a couple times already. All right, everybody, thank you for watching this video. I hope you liked it. If you are enjoying these videos, I would love to hear in the comments down below. Make sure to tell me if there's other videos that you guys want me to cover in this series. I really enjoy doing these. They're really fun, and they sort of allow me to show that these gameplay series can not only be really fun, but also informative as well, and have a lot of teachable moments in them. All right, everyone. Catch you later. Hope you have an amazing week. Peace.